Bob Spitz with Management Success, and I'm on the line with Kareem Abouzeid, the owner of Knockout Collision, a very nice shop in Chico, California. And Kareem and I have been talking about efficiency and how to improve your processes in a collision shop so that you have more bottom line, you have more satisfied customers, and your cycle time is within the parameters of what the insurance companies like to see. And there's certain things that you can do to improve your situation in that. And Kareem, what are some of the starting points? You know, from the time the customer drives in and says, I need an estimate, I got into an accident, what are some of the things that you can do to improve on that situation?
Well, from that initial phone call, definitely gathering as much information from that customer so you can handle everything in as few steps as possible. You know, really, as a collision shop, efficiency is everything. We can't just raise our prices of labor or parts to make up for inefficiencies in the shop.
That's right.
With insurance companies controlling the money and what they think is fair because of the market, we really have to work the other way and find ways to do things faster and cheaper at our cost.
Now, you brought up an interesting point just a moment ago, because I had started it with the car arriving, but you're talking about the consumer who calls on the phone and says, I would like to get an estimate, or I got into an accident, or anything like that. There's an efficiency process right there about getting the customer to actually arrive in the shop, isn't there?
Absolutely, absolutely, because, you know, at that point they may just be kind of testing the waters, and they may be calling several shops to see who they feel good about, you know, just in talking to on the phone. And so how we handle the phone when somebody comes in, and if we can take them out of the market right then, that's really ideal. So by asking them questions about what happened and caring about them, getting their information, we can hopefully keep them from calling other shops or calling their insurance company and getting steered somewhere else.
Right. What are some of the mistakes you've seen estimators make on the phone with potential customers?
Well, I've seen them just give the customer the answers they may want, which are things like the customer asks, well, what are your hours? And the estimator or receptionist or bookkeeper or whoever it is that's grabbing the phone, which is a point in itself. Having the right person answering the phone is important. But they may simply tell them what they asked. You know, our hours are 8 to 5.
And never asking why are they calling.
Right, never finding out what it is they need, because, you know, there's a good chance that the customer will call 3 or 4 shops to find out who's open when, and they may be looking for something specific, like a shop that's open at 7:30 so they can get in before work.
Right.
And, you know, you might be willing to come in early to help them if you knew that it was a good job. But if you don't handle that customer and ask and really find out what their problem is, you can spend a lot of time in what we think is helping people and just giving them information, which really doesn't get the end product.
Right. Now, a mistake I've seen estimators make, both as me as a consumer, but also working with so many collision shops throughout the U.S., is an estimator, very much like a service writer, if he's got production problems in the back, he shuts off the sales valve right at the beginning, right at the get-go. The phone call, customer calls out and says, I need to get an estimate. You go, I'd love to help you, but, you know, we're swamped and I won't be able to look at that car for weeks.
Yeah, that would be a big problem. That would be a big problem. It's much better to have to deal with production problems than it is sales problems, because when you have no sales, you have no money. and
That's
your
right.
production staff will leave.
That's exactly right. And I think the other thing that everybody's got to remember is over the phone, you really don't know anything. You know, this customer's
Yeah,
calling for an estimate. By golly, get them in the door. Do an estimate. You can always schedule the car, put them in a rent-a-car, do whatever. But
absolutely. And yes, and the other thing about that is, yeah, you might not be able to start the repairs for a week because you're backlogged, but there are many things in the process that need to get done, and
right.
the car may not be safe to drive, so it would be much better getting them in and determining that, and there may be parts, there almost always is parts that need to be ordered. There, you know, the vehicle needs to be taken apart and inspected further, and the insurance company needs to be notified so they can verify coverage and approve things, and that can be done. You know, you can get it in the shop, take a tech, and put them on it to take it apart so you can get a complete estimate written up, and then it's going to sit for a few days anyway. So better to have it sitting in your shop waiting for approvals and parts than
Someone else's shop.
Someone else's shop or driving around with the potential for something to go wrong.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think so. It all starts with knowing how to handle that phone correctly, right from the get-go, and knowing how to get the customer to bring the car in, if for no other reason, to see your shop, so that they can make an educated decision on where do they want to have their vehicle fixed.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, how important is it, have you found, in the education process for the consumer to understand their rights and the fact that they really do own the car? It's not the insurance company. It's their car.
Very important because, you know, most customers feel obligated because the insurance company is paying for the repairs. You know, some customers will say, hey, you know, they owe me, I've paid insurance all this time, but most customers are actually concerned or fearful of the insurance company and want to do what they're told. So educating them to let them know that, hey, we're going to work with your insurance company, but it's your car and it's your investment. And to save a few $100s on repairs isn't going to cost, it's going to save the insurance company some money. It's not going to cost them, it's going to cost you as a car owner. If you go to sell your car, trade your car in, and it's been repaired with, you know, inferior parts or
substandard procedures,
yeah, a craftsman who really isn't, you know, working for the customer, then you pay for it in the end.
Absolutely. Now, I think another important point here, so let's say we do a good job and we get the customer to bring the vehicle in for an estimate. That process of dealing with the customer when they come in, I think is misunderstood by a lot of collision shops because, you know, when you work in the industry, it's also obvious. But someone who's got into an accident, their state of mind is a little bit different, and they need a certain amount of hand-holding and help in this area, don't they?
Absolutely. They need guidance, and if we don't give it to them, help them, guide them, and actually take their problem off their hands, you know, they will, they'll either spend a lot of time themselves trying to learn the whole process, which doesn't make us very professional, or they run into somebody who will take over for them. And trust me, the insurance company, if you call your insurance company, they're going to do everything they can to take the problem off your hands and send you to a shop that they recommend or they, you know, that they have a contract with. And the people on the phone in the claims departments are really good at selling the customer on their process.
So what are some of the key points to your process, your system of when someone brings their car in for an estimate? How do you walk that customer through to up your odds and up your percentages of getting that job?
So we find out, you know, the sales process is definitely important. I mean, we want to find out what it is, what's going on with their car, what has happened thus far in the process. find out what it is they want, and then basically show them how we're going to provide all the things they need or their insurance company needs to okay the repairs.
So when you do
show them. Go ahead.
Let me ask you a question. So when you do the initial inspection, whether you call it a visual damage inspection or an initial estimate, do you have the customer with you while you walk the car?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a way to find out more about the customer and the car, and to see whether it's safe or not, to see how they feel about their car, what's important to them, why they showed up.
Right, because I've seen that as a mistake where they've sat the consumer down in their waiting area, and then the estimator or a lead tech or a manager goes and does the estimate and then brings it in and goes over it with the customer. And I've always felt that that was a wrong process. The correct way is to have them with you, because it gives you a chance to establish rapport with that consumer, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there are some cases where the customer, it's very hot out or it's raining, the customer doesn't want to be real involved, but it still has to, that still has to be handled. So you do have to go over that damage with the customer. And if that means bringing the vehicle in the shop, so you can really get, a thorough inspection, you can get the car brought in, maybe even put up on a lift, so you can kind of do a show and tell with the customer. That really involves them and makes them feel like your shop's more professional. And it gives you a better initial estimate, so that's definitely an efficiency point. We'll sometimes bring a vehicle into the shop if there's any question about damage that we can't see, into our inspection bay, lift the car up, then escort the customer back to show them things that we found. And that really helps them and puts them at ease, and it kind of inches them into the process. So at that point, they feel like, heck, they've already started on my car. Even if it's just an inspection, they can see and gain some more confidence in us. And many times they'll ask us, hey, can I just leave it now? What are my options?
Right. Now, one of the things, and we're going to wrap this up kind of shortly here, because I want to take this in segments, and today I think we're just going to talk about, handling the customer up front. One of the things I've observed with collision shop estimators is they can be well trained on their software, whatever they're using, Pathways or Mitchell's or whatever. But when it comes to, and they build a very good initial estimate, but getting the customer to sign that and closing the deal, that seems to be a weak point in too many collision shops. Yes,
very much so. Very much so. It's you can put a lot of work into creating a great initial estimate, and if you just hand it to the customer, that doesn't fix their car and it doesn't help them. In fact, normally it causes more confusion for them. If you write the estimate, which is what they asked for, and you hand it to them, and they walk out to think about it, boy, if they start looking at that estimate, they're going to be confused. The only thing about it they're going to understand is the bottom line.
Right.
And if your estimate is higher than some other one, they may be concerned about, that you're overcharging or that you're taking advantage of their insurance company. Or if it's lower than some other one, they may relate that dollar amount with the quality of the shop. And really that initial estimate, if not explained and understood, is just the starting point. So, I mean, one estimator, if he was in a hurry, might miss some of the important items and therefore write a lower estimate, and the customer wouldn't know that if it hadn't been really gone over and made sure that the customer understood what was on the estimate and actually clarify whether the customer has any questions, and then you can ask that closing question, which you should do every time when going over the estimate. You should be asking the customer, letting them know that we could start on it right away, and asking them, if
testing the close. You got to test the close. So that's I'm glad you brought that point up. I believe sometimes this happens because estimators get so busy sometimes during the day, they'll rush through the initial estimate process and rush through it with the customer and give the customer the estimate and not take the time necessary to do a proper job with the sale, which is everything.
Yes. Yeah. We put so much energy and money into our reputation, the quality of work we do.
The marketing efforts.
People to us. Yeah, to do all that and then not handle the customer properly when they get here because we're overwhelmed with the work in the shop or the current problem or the parts guy that's standing there. An estimator really has to have good control, and if it's showtime when a customer is here for an estimate. I mean,
that's right.
That's the most important time, where the estimator needs to be focused and really be there, because without that customer, the rest of the process isn't going to happen.
That's right. So I think the tip here is never be too busy to give a customer your undivided attention.
Yes. Yeah.
You just got to stop everything else. Nothing matters right now. This customer matters.
Yeah, and as far as efficiency goes, you can spend 4 hours a day writing estimates, and if you don't close them, boy, that was a waste of time. That's not efficient.
That is not efficient. That's right.
Yeah.
And then I hear estimators saying things like, "Well, I didn't get that guy to come in because all he wanted was an estimate."
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's because he's not thinking with the sales process. He's thinking it as just another thing he's got to do today. He's not thinking that this is an opportunity to close the job and get the car captured. Got to capture that car.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, this was great, Kareem. Thanks for your time. Why don't we do a little series of these, Kareem? We've started with hailing the customer on the phone and getting them in and taking the time to do a good job in the sales process. Why don't we do a couple more of these and have some fun?
I'd love to. I'd love to get into, preparing once the customer's agreed, kind of how you can efficiently prepare the paperwork and the work order and the parts ordering so the job goes smooth from there, because each step is a building block for sure.
Fantastic. Well, we'll do that on the next one.
Great.
All right. Well, I hope these tips help you folks, and if you'd like to know more, check out our website or attend a Management Success How to Increase Your Profit seminar. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Kareem.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.